In a world of fractured stories, timelines buried, and truths erased, one project dares to ask the question, what if everything you thought you knew about history was wrong? This is GTR, Genesis, Timeline and Roots. A 5,025-year simulated walkthrough tracing a melanated Adam back to 4000 BC. Over the last decade, new revelations confirm a black origin for humanity, from European vaults to tribal memory, Babylon to Britain. This is not just history, this is a challenge, a simulation, a movement. Meet the man behind GTR, Dr. Wilton MacDonald II, Caymanian, British, Jamaican, haplogroup E and stateless for 26 years. Now a global explorer, 119 countries and counting. A hedge fund lawyer, a UK chartered accountant, a seeker of the lost archives of our people. But the question remains, if all black people came out of Africa, does that make us only African? Or are we also European, Scottish, Native American, Jacobite Hebrew, Asian? GTR exists to answer that question. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world, a splinter in your mind. That splinter has brought you here, to GTR. Whites can't trace their roots before the 1800s. Where's ours? Where are the tribes? The languages, the kings, the queens, the true Hebrews? Where did the giants go? Where are the Neanderthals? Angels, aliens? Why do we speak in so many tongues? Was Babel just a myth? A memory? History has holes. Hollywood has lied. The system was never made for us to remember. Only 5 to 8% of people today are white. And what about the 1800 stories and postcards of the cabbage babies? But nearly all history books center their story. That doesn't add up. Atlantis, lost cities, vanished civilizations, or were they erased? Try GTR. Take the red pill and awaken to the truth of your ancestors. Or take the blue pill and keep dreaming a fantasy. GTR. A simulated walkthrough of Black Hebrew history and eschatology. This is the beginning of remembering.
All right, good evening, and welcome to another episode of GTR, Genesis, Timeline, and Roots. I am the host, Dr. Wilton MacDonald, GTR, and I'm joined by a special guest today. We have Chief Gary of the Maroons. I will allow Gary, our special guest, to introduce himself. Chief Gary, take it away.
Supreme Rising, and thank you for that, my esteemed brother, Dr. Wilton MacDonald, a genius in his own right, as we will see as in this truly amazing time. I am High Chief Gary for the Nankapong Maroon Global Tribal Nation Territories, Greater Antilles, North America, representing Panama, and also Nama Tartarian Sultan. So I am grateful to be here. I'm very excited because this piece of history must be reclaimed and must be taken back and put back in its correct order, as this being one of the greatest atrocities to have taken place. As we will delve into, we will explore, and we will help to put the chess pieces back in its correct order.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chief Gary. And I'm delighted because our interaction in the last year or so through the different channels, we have the CEPA, we have ADDI, the African Diaspora Development Institute, and there are more groups that are coming forward, more people that are writing about this new history. And I looked back at 5 years from those scholars like Dr. John Johnson, who wrote The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles, Dr. Marie Charles. She has written, a retired teacher, 20 books on the European history. And she is part St. Lucian on her father's side, and she is Irish, white Irish on her mom's side. And it is just amazing how much. But even there were forerunners. There were people like David McRitchie 100 years ago. And there were people who were writing about, Donald Monroe and other scholars and historians trying to tell a story about a melanated planet, a population that was a lot more, or it was a lot less diverse. Today we have so many varieties and colors. I am a product of an Indian mom and a mixed race dad. He is part white, but mostly, I would say, Hebrew, Jacobite Hebrew, MacDonald, where the name comes from, not a name that was associated with slavery. And growing up, I really thought that I obtained my MacDonald name from a master, having done so much work and degrees in different subjects, law, economics, accounting. I turned my attention with this third PhD doctoral program to look at history in the 19th century, or I'd say the 9th century, the timeline for GTR. And I know that there are different versions of the timeline. We have the one presented by the late Reverend James Usher. We have the 6,000 years. We have the Jewish calendar, the reckoning, which goes back 5,000 years and some. But most will focus around BC 4000. Now, whether you want to assume and accept that the world was created or recreated, I am open to whatever sort of precursor before the creation event. But my timeline, because like everything, you write a story, you need a skeletal outline. You're a human being, you have a skeleton that puts your body in shape. You have a car with a chassis. Everything needs that, by order of design, a support, a framework. And the GTR, it's two goals of GTR. It is to help people who will want to explore their family tree. That with Ancestry have done a family tree with the collaboration of others, over 1 million members on the tree with different haplogroups, looking at the DNA boxes and where we come from. A to E being original man black, not necessarily African, includes Africa, but not limited to Africa. And we know our Eve, our mama, Eve gene, the black woman, is the haplogroup L. And then the other side of the spectrum, we have our white brothers and sisters. They tend to be R for male and H. So my own wife here in Poland, she's H, haplogroup H. And in the middle will be all the sorts of varieties that I've seen, whether it be I, J, whether it be O, as in Asian Chinese, when my mother's father was an O, and even other letters, just W and T and Z. There's so many of these letters in the flow genetic tree. But it all starts in the Genesis, A through E. And I found E is global. I've been to 120 countries. I have seen where C, D, and even E shows up. in samples in New Zealand, in Australia, in all over, even in Africa itself, but around Africa and the Middle East. And these samples are not confined to just one continent. We regard Africa and hold it in high esteem as the birthplace of civilization. I would not even dispute that. There's some who want to say, no, it's Europe. And there are places like Doggerland, which is some fictitious marshland connecting UK with the continent of Europe. And there's hope. But the numbers do not lie. In the Genesis Project, we see that the number of blacks, of melanated, just use the word melanated people, are in the majority. In all shapes and forms, in all continents, a majority. And the number of whites still hold between 5 and 8%. You would inflate that number by including Hispanics. You know, the people who are Latin American and the Hispanic population, they are mixed race. The traditional European, as I say, Anglo-Saxons, and people of Europe, which I thought really my wife being Polish would fit into that bracket. I'm in Poland, and I'm in the right place at the right time. I will let you expand on that and what it means in this context. But what I've found is, with the painting that is right in my background, that is my favorite piece of all, that was painted here in Poland, now 1706, or was that 706? It's something that we know was roughly 300 years ago. And that's a painting of 4 royals, including the King Augustus Strong. And he is donned in blue and red. And those are his colors. And we know that when you look at the Wikipedia page, you see someone who's there, and it's not really the same person as you could try and make out. The other people flanking him were Carl Gustav at Sweden, the land of the blondes and blue-eyed people, and German and other Polish royals. And this was a dance on a horseback. And so one academic said, no, they wore blackface. Not only is that inaccurate, but it's disgusting to say and suggest that they would be donned in black faces. But though this is authenticated, the German Museum in Dresden, Germany, it's where I purchased direct. No intermediate, no middleman. This is supposed to be in public display. This painting was in Poland, and it made its way to Dresden, Germany. It was not destroyed. It's kept in the Museum of Ethnology in Dresden, Germany. And when I asked the curator, ma'am, is it in public display? Where is it? How can I see it if I visit your museum? Number one, that museum is undergoing renovation. Number two, it has not been out in the public space for like forever. So I just simply have almost given up, because I in terms of trying to defend myself one-to-one with these people, just as when I called up the Bayeux Museum in Bayeux, France. Now they have a tapestry that is a mile long with all the characters of how the Norman conquest came about. It all there. Even one king looks like he's smoking something illegal. And I'm like, what is this? I mean, what honestly is this? I'm just again blown away. So it is that we're presented with this version of history when we take and scrub blacks out of it, limiting us to an African experience. I'm not saying that the African slave trade did not occur. I would never say that. But in what proportion, in what numbers? Because the more you go in that way, then that means there's no land to claim in the West. We just simply didn't have a footprint there before the so-called 1500s. And that's not true. So we have to be careful in how we look at history. And I know I've said a mouthful. I just wanted to turn it over to you and just tell me about the organization. Tell me about the history that you have come across. And then what have you seen in your lifetime as you hold these senior roles within native organizations in the Maroons.
Wow, truly, a cornucopia of things right there to deal with. However, there is nothing that you have mentioned that is not correct. We are here to set the record straight. Now, Tartaria in me, what brought this up, I think it's an ancestral thing. And ever since then, I could not sleep, and I'm very grateful to have brothers like yourself revisiting this piece of history, because it is so crucial. Shout out to brothers like Newbie One, and there's a few others I see that are really doing amazing work. There's a guy on social media, many of you have seen him. He goes, "Oh, now I got your ass." You see them too, you know.
I have not. Are you referring to like Dr. Omar or something? But I have not seen that brother. No. What's his name?
I've sent you some videos. His name is coming to right now, but I'm going to send you one of his videos. You will know. And he has revealed a lot of things. But in addressing the things that you have mentioned, in regards to Africa, Africa is a corporation. For those of you out there who's not aware, Africa is a business. It's a registered business. The name is actually Alkebulan, Abyssinia, Kush, Kemet, and the real Africa, if we were to say it's a business, it's actually the place they call America, otherwise known as Lemuria. Go read, you can Google this, the exotic maps of America. You'll see Egypt there, you will see Morocco. There are two Egypts. The Mississippi is actually the first Nile, and the very size, the place they call America today, it's rebranded. Now, it's very interesting. I have to point this out. Why everyone wants to sell in America. China has how many billions of people? India has how many billions of people? Why do these guys, they have the numbers. You would say, why do they need to sell to America? Because it's very sons and daughters, which is us, the copper tone melanated people. I don't use black because black means dead, necromancy, non-degeared, non-status. But for the sake of argument, I give you that, is that those people, our brothers and sisters in that jurisdiction, they have unlimited credit. Unlimited credit. This is what a lot of people are not aware of. They have unlimited credit. So that should give you a clear idea. So these are some of the richest people. So read the exotic maps of America. Look it up. You will see Egypt, places like Kentucky. They renamed these places. They are very, very significant. Ohio, and a lot of these lakes that you see, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Lake Superior, those are actually Tartarian cities that was actually flooded out.
Now, let me just do a segue in here, Chief Gary, because when you look at this overall map, and is espoused by James W. Lee, and I've bought or purchased his books on the planet and the world, and his figuring of this Pangea, this complete holistic world where all, and again, I was fascinated because when you look at the map of the world, which is not correct because Africa is much bigger, we all know the Peterson's map. When you look at the map of the world as is presented, we could almost cut it up in pieces and try to fit it together and say, oh, the South America can fit into Africa, and you could see how it kind of gels. Now, when this happened, and I'm of the belief, and we had a prior conversation about this, the flood event being around roughly BC 2400. Now, we must know that there was a kingdom and world before that, the antediluvian, or called the Atlantean. No matter what word you want to use, the Atlantean antediluvian world. They had advanced civilizations, and that then, in my mind, would be the genesis of what we describe as a Tartarian, because they had these advanced systems in place, even airships, things that we would not think, oh man, that's on the 18th, 19th, 17th century or something. No, they had these things in play in their pyramid dome shape. But when the world and the continents moved because of a cataclysmic event, such as the flood, then those places were once connected, were then split apart. And so we're saying, well, here's a pyramid in the Americas, and it looks like a pyramid in North Africa and the Middle East. What's going on? BC 2400. So I say timeline is very important, because without the timeline in your body will just disintegrate if your skeleton just literally walks away. Over back to you, Chief Gary.
Absolutely, my brother. Absolutely. You know, I tell you that when someone speaks of Tartarian, it gets me excited because there's just so much, folks. It is one of the greatest civilization to have ever been attempted to be written out of existence. But thanks to our brilliant brother here, he has brought it back. And now there is no escape. Now, the museums that you speak of in Poland, I think it's Germany. Yes, this is what's going on. They have many of our artifacts there that they are hiding, in which we have to reclaim, family. We have to reclaim our things. But because there has been many others who have gone to reclaim our artifacts and things like that. But when they go back with a corporate mindset. And I don't blame the corporation for not handing it to them, because they're not coming back in the right mind frame. Now, these artifacts hold a lot of power. They hold a lot of wealth too. So they're not going to give it back to someone who's not in their right mindset, because there's nothing worse than putting a gun in the hands of a fool. So we have to come back right in our right mind frame with the right titles, documentation, because the corporation knows, hey, if I give this power back to this brother or sister, they might not only harm themselves, but they're going to harm us too. Now, with the picture that you have, it's beautiful, man. I would love to get a copy of that, because it's very significant. You talk about the tribes, the Moors, because we had different types of Moors. We had Moors and we had Muurs. And we are the Vikings, the Goths, the Visigoths, the Saxons, the Germanic, the Roman. That is us. And to those who this is something new to their ears, I want to welcome you. You come up in this program with an open ear and open mind, and there's nothing better than truth, because the truth will truly set you free. So yes, we are here to set the record straight, because we have the architecture, we have the DNA, and we got the melanin.
But Chief Gary, I want you to really elaborate on the papers and documents, because I am Caymanian, I'm British, I'm even Jamaican, and I'm here living in Poland. And recently, I again reached out to the Maroons and your organization, and you now are able to register and explain to us and the audience what that process means, because we heard of this treaty, the Treaty of America and Morocco. And it goes back to the 1700s, almost the same time that America was born. And now they're about to celebrate 250 years. And we see what's going on, even stuff that's being scrubbed from the Smithsonian, and it's just really awful. But what about this treaty? And how does that treaty play in with your the documents that you describe that we ought to have in order to present ourselves properly when we request these artifacts?
An excellent question. We are a people. We are a gifted people. And we are born with a particular status. But we have been papered out of our divine status through trickery of the corporation, as to through using our mothers to take us out of that particular status. That status is tied to a birthright of wealth, a birth paper in worth up anywhere from 500 million to over $1 billion. And that paper goes to the crown, is owned by the crown and the Vatican. Just the same way they take our placentas to our brothers or sisters, to our mothers. Don't give away your placenta. And we're talking also to those who are not our brothers and sisters, to our Caucasian family, brothers and sisters. Don't give away your placenta. It is very, very valuable. So it's a crucial piece of the birthing process. So with the documentation in terms of the status, it's very important, because now the Vatican, especially when I ask people, do you know what the most valuable asset is on this planet? It's not what you think. It's the womb of the ninth ether melanated woman. So when her birth paper is given to the crown has unlimited wealth, because she is the one that brings forth all life. So we must be in our correct status so that we can stay in our correct birthright and be free of the corporation. Now let's be clear, the corporation versus the aboriginal. We are the aboriginal. So that means our rights and our laws is above the corporation's law. We give the corporations the right to operate. We work together. That's how it's supposed to be. The corporation is what I call our vasali, our servant assistant. And now what gives us this right? We are the original man of the planet. So we have the original contract. Now our treaty of the 1738-9 is of the British surrender, but that treaty is tied to a greater and broader treaty which goes back 10,000 years, and it is treated. All nations are under this treaty. They connect via the United Nations under Article ILO 169 and the 47 Articles of Indigenous Rights, as well as the Universal Postal Union, of which most people are not aware. The Universal Postal Union governs over all branches of government, including the president, whatever takes place on the road, as well as maritime. So these are very, very crucial things, and we should all be in our correct status, whether we're melanated or not. You should own you. So if you are a citizen means slave, you are owned by a corporation entity, and as a result, you are subject to their rights, statutes, and codes. So you should own you, not another entity or an organization owning you. And this is done through trickery, and through our organization, as well as other tribes too. We offer those documentations that people can come back in their correct status so that they can take possession over their rights and their destiny.
That's really well said, well put. And I took the step to register, my own name, and then to apply for status. And your words then. What would that then? Because I noticed the registration being Jamaica, and I know you have a different word for Jamaica. So tell the audience then, what is it exactly that I obtained? Being registered to a corporation, being a part of linked to 3 countries. But mind you, my story, and I said it before, is just quite interesting because for 26 years, I did not have any rights as a citizen. I did not. I was not registered anywhere. And I went through my whole, they'll call it youth, up to post adulthood, 26, even finishing law school without any citizenship at all because of the operation of UK law. And not blaming, but it just happened to me. Even today, I still don't have my Bahamian papers. And I was born in the Bahamas, but grew up in the Cayman Islands. And they had strict laws, even more so in Bahamas, preventing me from accessing citizenship. But now I have 3, but I recently claimed those papers and that status. So tell the audience exactly, and that word that you have assigned and given to Jamaica, where I've seen where the registration, office is.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, now the place that they call Jamaica is 1962. Now that region is actually, it's a very significant place, but the whole region as a whole, not just that particular land space, but that whole region of Trinidad, Barbados, Bahamas, Cayman, it used to be one landmass, and that's the actual headquarters of Atlantis. That's the headquarters. It's actually that island is sitting on the top of a mountain. It's very significant. So that region is a very, very special and specific area of a very unique group of our people. We're all unique, but we serve a very, very special purpose. That area is supposed to be the actual headquarters or the Atlantean Empire, meaning serve as the administrators, wants to oversee that all the other empires, Olmec, Byzantine, Roman, Oriental, Benin, that all the empires and all the tribes are seated, and that if their empire should break down, that we will be the ones to help them to prop back up. So it's a very unique area. Now, in terms of Jamaica, it's actually, you go back before Jamaica of 1962, it's Exameca. And then we go back, Turtle Island, and then we go back to Atlantis. There was a time where that landmass was one piece, where you can walk from there right through that whole region, all the way through Lumaria, through up to the place they call Canada. It's actually Canaan. It was all connected. So the documents, everything is contract in this world. Everything is contract, whether it can be spiritual, verbal, paper, but you name it, everybody needs to get that contract. Now, again, it comes back to the 1738-9 treaty, blood covenant with the British, of which they were defeated by the Maroons. The Maroons is one of the very few groups that has a footprint all over the world. It was the same Maroons that went up through Venezuela, Haiti, America, and over time they have blossomed. Now all our copper colored people are Maroons. This is very important to know. What is Maroon? Maroon is the epidermis of your skin, expressed in 78 color spectrums from very, very light to almost white to dark chocolate brown, but never black. So it's a very, very unique set of people. And the revolution that we have sparked, the Seminoles are Maroons. They're the warriors. We're the warrior class. So we are the tip of the spear. And like I said, depending on the tribe and the part of the world you're in, they have different specialties. It just so happens that our tribe, that from this region, we're the warriors, and that's why they're called the tip of the spear, which ties into the whole Tartarian society and empire. So everyone must change their status through the documentation. It's important. Yes, you say you might be sovereign in your mind, because that's important, because if you have the documentation and you don't have the mentality to exercise it, nor how to use it, it's no good. So it's just like having a gun. You said you're tired of getting robbed. Now you got a gun. Go take gun lessons out to use that tool properly. So that's basically what it is. It's documentation and the correct exercising and usage of it. But everybody, no matter what color they are, you must be sovereign and change your status. Take control of you and your destiny. You should own you, not someone else.
And thank you for that. And we know that Jamaica has the Blue Mountains. I mean, one of the tallest, peaks around in the Caribbean, certainly higher than anything in the Caymans that I've seen. And then in Bahamas, when you go to some of the islands near the Bahamas, you will actually see these large stone pillars and underwater images of gates, and they haven't figured out what that is and what it was. Tell me about that. Have you seen the imagery and photography near Bahamas? Because that's where they put the hotel and they call it Atlantis. And people, oh, Atlantis. But can you tell me about that? What do you think that is? It's like a step gradient sort of stone cut, man-made underground part city in the Bahamas. What was that? How did it link up to the city, to the old city?
It's interesting, because remember what took place in the cataclysm when we had the great flood. There are sunken cities underneath their pyramids. Very clear pictures off the coast of Bahamas, Cuba, in that whole region. And there are portals there as well, because you see those pyramids, they're portals. You can teleport from one part of the world to the other, as well as being able to teleport into other parts of the galaxies. The pyramids were used for many different things. When the cataclysm that took place with the world, with the spin of the world, the pyramids were used to stabilize the wobble of the planet. But also the pyramids was also like they call it Wi-Fi today. We didn't have, cables and wires, but they were used to to move around the power grid to communicate. Because during this time of Tartaria, at the height of it, we were on different dimensions. We're talking 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, even up to 12th dimension. We communicated telepathically. We communicated with animals. If you notice, inside, you never see or hear stories of us getting eaten by lions or getting envenomated by snakes or anything like that. No, we had that connection with the universe and the creatures that roam the planet. But off the coast, in that area, especially the Bermuda Triangle, there are portals there, there are energy grids, and there are cities there, and there are pyramids underneath there. Just the most recent is Port Royal in Jamaica. It's a city that sank during the time of, they talk about the pirates of the Caribbean, And there are trillions of dollars of treasures underneath that city, and only two entities can enter that body of water, and that is the crown and those who have their sovereign documents. If you are caught in that body of water without having that status, you can be shot on the spot.
Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah,
All right.
yes.
That's quite interesting and fascinating, Chief Gary. And tell us now, move to Europe and how it is played out. And we know that a lot of wars have been fought. A lot, even here in Poland, pretty much almost all of the city was just decimated, and parts of London, which is destroyed. And how do you see Europe and this modern day Europe? And then some of my reading, it would suggest that Africa was really not that backward. There were established kingdoms in Africa along the coast of northern Africa, but those kingdoms somehow not there. It just paints a picture that Africa as a continent is backward, and then Europe is just advanced. To paint a story in light of your knowledge of Tartaria and this world that existed before the cover-up, before the, I call it 1800s whitewashing, before that 250 years ago, when they really messed with history and decided to declare war and destroy Black icons. Can you speak to that?
Yes. Thank you for this. One's a very, very interesting one and very broad. Why? Because you see what has taken place, right? We have been fighting a war for hundreds of thousands of years with other entities who have cloaked themselves and has used and created Cabbage Patch babies and put them out there in front to do certain things. So there are entities living on this planet, and there are other entities living in the solar system too. So
let's clarify Cabbage Patch, because I have used it, and sorry to interrupt, but let's clarify Cabbage Patch, because what I've seen is that there were a lot of postcards coming from Russia and coming out of Europe, and it was the 1800s, and these postcards were like marketing tools for cloned babies. I mean, Cabbage Patch Europe, also Cabbage Patch Asia, because Asians are looking distinct, and they just suddenly their population exploded overnight. So tell me about how you do with cabbage, and what do you mean by the cabbage babies? As for the audience,
Yes, Cabbage Patch means, when I was a kid, I remember the Cabbage Patch dolls. Man, that thing was like, wow! I didn't get it. I used to say to my mom, this is the ugliest dollies I've ever seen in my life. I don't get it. Why is it so popular? I don't want one to bring that in the house. the face looked like Miss Piggy, just like chunky and anyway. The Cabbage Patch are basically, it's a euphemism for the Caucasian people. And where does the name Caucasian come from? It comes from the Caucasus Mountain. The Caucasus Mountain were basically a euphemism of an area of which a laboratory was inside, of which these particular people were created using different genetic splicing and incubators. As you will see in a lot of the footage, they have a lot of footage now of world fairs that was taking place, especially primarily in America, where they had the incubators. In Coney Island, they had actual incubators where you can go and buy take a Cabbage Patch baby. And
take them home.
Orphan trains. They had a lot of them have any parents. And this one is so deep. But this is where the term Cabbage Patch come from. It's a euphemism for a genetically spliced organism of a people in which inhabits the world today. They're called Caucasian, and called Caucasus. It comes from the Caucasus, meaning a laboratory in which these people were made, and they were used to repopulate cities after the mud flood and the terraforming of the planet, of the Tartarian empires, to replace and to take over.
Yeah, that is really fascinating. I saw comments, and I have just, I observed the cabbage patch. Then later on, they had garbage pail when, people didn't want to care for cabbage. They went to garbage pail kids. And again, they refer to them as cabbage or meadow. I've seen the term meadow babies, meadow, maybe even more of a euphemism. But this is where postcards, adverts in Sears catalogs, $3, and they even put the price $3 for a kid. And yes, you could actually go to the fair and take one home or get it delivered. Amazon, before Amazon, and the Amazon to deliver a kid to your doorstep. And you notice you had these. You see, you have to put everything in context and together. You had a lot of asylums, which today you really don't have that many today, because I guess some of these kids, they question a deeper existential self, where did I come from? And if they would defy the mold, say, oh, you're not playing ball, off to the asylum you go, because you question yourself and your existence and where you come from. But the orphanages, we saw a high, even before the World War I and II, before these wars that would naturally cause maybe orphans. You had in the 1800s a huge number, relative to the population, large number of these institutions and the incubators and those world fairs. And you saw all of this happening. So postcards coming out, there were forms of advertisements. And when you put it all kind of together, then yes, they're newspaper clippings. There's evidence that but you have to know what to look for. And certainly today, when you look at the population and you try to tie in the color of people regressing backwards, there's a mismatch. There's a problem. I mean, this is basic 101 math, basic statistics. You can't say, oh, well, we are a majority melanated planet. So how come when you go to the famous museums, it could be the Metropolitan, you can be the Vatican or the Louvre, you go to them and you see all these images blasting in your face, even the images of Christ. I really have a deep problem because I'm so busy. We're all busy chasing our profession. We're so busy on the rat race. But okay, I have the blessed work from home. I do have a bit more time and to think and for deep, reflective and even deep, thoughts on just matters and what things, just assessing it. It doesn't all make sense. To me, this is what even man's purpose ought to be. We should have time for the self, the reflection, and time for leisure, time for communing with the planet, with the God, with our spirits. We should have this, but we are robbed of that because of this rat race that we are in, 9 to 5, 9 to 9, 9 to 11, AM to PM. And we are always caught up in some drama that's robbing us of our time for reflection and deep introspective look of self and where we connect to the universe. So a lot of that is missing. And that's why we don't question these things. Simple numbers, simple math. If you have 5% to 8% whites here. And again, my wife, she's Polish, she's white. My dad, maternal grandpa, Mr. George Potts, God bless his soul, he was white. It's not about targeting any group. I'm mixed race with all three races in one. They call it originally. Even those classifications somehow don't make sense. But you say, just for argument's sake, the Negroids, the Caucasoids, the Mongoloids, but they seem to put it in reverse because we are closer to the animal, which we have no animal DNA, and then they are the most advanced of the species when the splicing, God knows that splicing, what clicks and what went into the recipe, it is not the original man. So the whole, evidence and the history of what we're taught, even what my kids are taught, and they come home and say, da 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 da, this is what they said. And I have to say, hold on. No, we have to have a sit down. And this is where you have learning and unlearning. You have information and you have this misinformation. it is tragic what happens on a day. That's why some people just homeschool their kids.
Yes. I totally agree. This is this makes for a broader conversation as to the whole education system has to be revamped, because it's a lie. It's a lie. There's a big piece of fabricated truth. So that's for another day, another topic.
Absolutely.
But in regards to the European aspect part of Tartaria, we are the Europeans. We are the real European. Europe is also too. Europe is a corporation. Remember that its name was Tartaria, so you had different sectors. You had the Byzantine, which was the Russian, what they call today the Russian Empire. That's the Byzantine. And if anyone has a time to explore, the Kremlin is a Tartarian building. Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Georgia. We can go down the line. They have many Tartarian little cities intact that they don't put on the news media because they don't want people to discover this, but they have those places there intact. So
Chief Gary, I always was very curious with all these domes, all these cathedrals, the ones that's preserved, the ones that they did not use World War I and II to bomb the crap out of.
Yes.
A lot of places are gone, but the ones that are there, you see these domes and the copper and the wiring, and you ask yourself, what in Dickens, where does that fit? What is going on? How, and they're so tall and large and this big. I'm like, what does this fit into it? We don't get it, fueling even airships. Some of these were docking stations for airships.
Yes, and one of the most famous docking station is still available today for all to see. It's called the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower, it was not made by the guy, I think it's George Eiffel. No, this is whitewashing. The Eiffel Tower was actually a refuel station for airships. Now, for the audience, what is an airship? An airship is basically, it looks like a blimp. It's not a blimp. I just want to be very clear. It's more advanced than a blimp, more advanced than your 747 that we have today. It's like a flying Ritz-Carlton. It had an outdoor deck. Imagine that. It had an outdoor deck that you can view things. It had the most beautiful dining areas. It had recreation areas, and it can land anywhere. You see what they call, what do they call them? To the lighthouses for ships. That's not what it really is. It was actually a refueling station. We use something which is called electroculture. We drew the copper wires that you see and rods that you see on top of the buildings. It drew electricity from the ether. So electricity was free. So the airships can dock anywhere. It can dock even on a ship. It can rescue people. It can go anywhere. It had unlimited capability, but the technology was destroyed because of the corporation. And it's a travesty because most of the things that you see being released today, we had e-scooters in the 1800s. We had self-parking cars in the late 1800s. So the stuff that we have now is nothing. We had moving sidewalks. Moving sidewalks. We had all of these things. So what they're giving you now is child's play.
But the Hindenburg, and I always
Hindenburg, one of the most famous, yes.
What happened there? Because and then after that, it was discouraged. Those ships were no longer operating. So that was deliberate, because I tried to read up on what happened, and it was some guy or someone didn't do something, and then it's questioned as to how did this explosion occur, and then it was used as a punching line. It's used as a metaphor. Oh, that's a disaster. That's a Hindenburg, and they keep saying these things even today. So tell me, what's your thought about the Hindenburg and how it came to an end to the airships that we know of?
The Hindenburg was That was the 9/11 version to destroy the technology of the airships and to take it off the market and to kill that technology and to scare people out of it. That's basically what it was, and it was pure sabotage. Pure sabotage. And as you can see, there's a group called rock group, very famous, probably one of the most famous, called Led Zeppelin, because the airship was a Zeppelin, basically. But that was one of the biggest sabotage that they had pulled to destroy that piece of technology. And now we're stuck with the Wright brothers and this antiquated technology of using airplanes. And that's another scam that we will explore. They say the airplanes use these tons of fuel in that little small area. They put all that in the wing. So that's something else we'll explore, but not to get off the topic, but that's basically what that was all about. That was pure sabotage to end that technology. And the other technology, I must also too, that they had to stop too, everything in Tartaria ran on free energy. And the Lusitania, that's why the Lusitania, they sank the Lusitania with those German U-boats. The Lusitania was larger than the Titanic, and it ran on free ether energy, and they sank that in order to kill that technology and to suppress that piece of brilliant piece of work, as to keep us with and make antiquated things that has efficacies. Am I using the right word? That is defected. You're going to have to buy a new car every few years. Why? Because we made it that way. For example, I yield the floor. Go ahead, my brother.
You have to come into the view. I just say you have to come closer to the camera. Come
yes.
to the camera. Yeah, because you're zipping in and out with the background.
Yes.
Yes, it was the background view. So I think you're coming close to it. Now I see the background is kind of fading around your face. I can't make out the face.
Can you see me now?
Yeah,
Better?
I don't know if you have to come closer to the camera.
Better?
That's a little better, but it's still it's distorted. The image face is distorted. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's we'll work around, but yes, it's fine. They can.
So these are some of many of the brilliant works. Now they have a man named Nicholas Tesla.
Oh yes, and they said Tesla was not one person.
You see, family. You see how deep this is.
It's like Shakespeare. I've been told Shakespeare was not one person.
Yes. So this is how deep this thing is, and like I said, we're gonna peel back, all the layers. We won't be able to do it all tonight because it's so deep and so vast. But we're coming out slugging here with
coming out swinging. Well, Chief Gary, this is a great point and a highlight that I would like to just say that we will have you back and incorporate series, because people will want to have a deep dive and take a deep dive into like cabbage babies, or one part of Tartaria, or one part and sub part of time in a time frame, like what it was before Christ, for example, and then after Christ, and in certain periods. Because the most riveting and dramatic period of all, it's the 200 to 250 years as America celebrates its 250th birthday. And we know what is going on, the scrubbing, taking away. Even there's a famous painting that Will Smith played the role of a slave with a back that was torn up. And, he had, his name escapes me, but he had a pose with the back being very scarred. Even the president now said of the U.S., take that down, remove it, take it down. We don't want that. We don't want to have bad news or bad publicity. It's like a marketing show in the preparation for the anniversary next year of 250. They don't want these things, these images to be reminding of, depressing America, America. But I say that some of those images need to be rightfully erased. And why I say that is not for censure. It's not because I am against any militant group. It's because the most oppressing people of Black, so melanated, in other words, melanated of us, was the same melanated people. We were our own oppressors. So this is the truth that's hidden. We take it, and it will help to settle the sides, because right now we have immigration in the mix, and rightfully so. The people are far right. They're saying, you don't belong here, go, leave, take your boats, we don't want you. It's so ironic because these countries have gone into the people's homelands and have displaced and created wars, and these people are coming to another, say, G20 country for safety and a better life. But ironically, those places were filled with of the same kind of melanated immigrant type of folks that's showing up. It's like a reversion. It's a chickens coming home to roost, call it what you may. These are the things that are happening. So it's very, very relevant, the whole immigration, the talk about our history and the culture and the scrubbing. So some of it has to be scrubbed because it places blame unnecessarily on the shoulders of whites. As a man that's whipping people and beating people, and he's bad Mr. White. And then again, I'm married into a culture of modern day European, but what we understand to be European is not accurate, because I say Europe and the planet was of a darker shade, was melanated just 200 years ago. So the timeline is important. So Chief Gary, I said I leave it as that, and I would really, really like to give you then the closing word, but we'll have you back. This is a Cayman Mall Road production. This is GTR, Genesis Timeline Roots. This is the exploratory piece on Black history, melanated history, eschatology in a Hebrew context, in a melanated context, examining topics that are ignored, that are scrubbed, and not available to our up-and-coming youth. And we, in order for a man to understand where he's going, he must understand where he came from. So I give you the final word, and we'll close out.
So eloquently spoken, my good brother. Yes. In closing, I want to tell everyone this is truly amazing for me, because I thought I was a man on an island as it pertains to this topic, and I could not sleep well at night knowing that this part so crucial of our greatest scientific expression ever displayed on this planet to go without its proper acknowledgement, and that the pieces on the chessboard are assembled back as they should be, with using imperial facts, DNA, and the requisite scholars like yourself, Dr. McDonald. And Tartaria, it's a beautiful piece of history for our people, but also too for other people to be fully aware of. And yes, some of the greatest atrocities that has taken place on this planet, it's gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings, but it was at the hands of people who look just like us. Sad to say, but that's what it is, and that has to be exposed. I have a daughter. My ex-wife was also Caucasian, and so was my grandmother. My great-grandmother on my father's side was Caucasian from Germany. So what we speak about here, we speak about justice. We're not talking about skin color or whatever it may be. We're talking about justice, peace, and reciprocity, as this truly amazing piece of history must be revealed, and whatever restoration and justice that injustice that was done, that the correction is made, and so that way we can have peace. Without justice, you can have no peace. Without peace, you cannot have justice. Without justice, without truth, you cannot have any of these things. So truth is where it begins. And truth is not made to make one comfortable. The truth is the truth. You must align yourself mentally to accept it and move in its truly divine and make its purpose land as where it should land. With that, Dr. McDonald, I thank you so much for having me here. I look forward to being back. And I am so excited. Tartaria, the greatest piece of history that was attempted to be written out of history, now brought back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We shall be.
Thank you.
In a world of fractured stories, timelines buried, and truths erased, one project dares to ask the question, what if everything you thought you knew about history was wrong? This is GTR, Genesis, Timeline and Roots. A 5,025-year simulated walkthrough tracing a melanated Adam back to 4000 BC. Over the last decade, new revelations confirm a black origin for humanity, from European vaults to tribal memory, Babylon to Britain. This is not just history, this is a challenge, a simulation, a movement. Meet the man behind GTR, Dr. Wilton MacDonald II, Caymanian, British, Jamaican, haplogroup E and stateless for 26 years. Now a global explorer, 119 countries and counting. A hedge fund lawyer, a UK chartered accountant, a seeker of the lost archives of our people. But the question remains, if all black people came out of Africa, does that make us only African? Or are we also European, Scottish, Native American, Jacobite Hebrew, Asian? GTR exists to answer that question. You've felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. A splinter in your mind. That splinter has brought you here, to GTR. Whites can't trace their roots before the 1800s. Where's ours? Where are the tribes? The languages, the kings, the queens, the true Hebrews? Where did the giants go? Where are the Neanderthals? Angels, aliens? Why do we speak in so many tongues? Was Babel just a myth? A memory? History has holes. Hollywood has lied. The system was never made for us to remember. Only 5 to 8% of people today are white. And what about the 1800 stories and postcards of the cabbage babies? But nearly all history books center their story. That doesn't add up. Atlantis, lost cities, vanished civilizations, or were they erased? Try GTR. Take the red pill and awaken to the truth of your ancestors. Or take the blue pill and keep dreaming a fantasy. GTR. A simulated walkthrough of Black Hebrew history and eschatology. This is the beginning of remembering.